Welcome. Today, we're diving into a really provocative idea from a financial analyst, a theory that some of the biggest tech companies in the world, worth a combined $6 trillion, might be completely lost when it comes to AI. Yep, you read that right. Drunk ducks. It's a pretty startling claim. The analyst Kevin Paffrath is basically saying that even with these huge, eye-watering valuations, America's top AI companies are just spending billions and billions of dollars with no clear plan on how to actually make money from it. So, is there any truth to this? Are they really just wandering around? Well, let's look at the evidence from their latest earnings calls. We're going to break down what the analyst thinks about three of the biggest players in this game: Meta, Tesla, and Microsoft. Okay, first up, Meta. And right away, we run into what this analyst calls a massive contradiction. You've got CEO Mark Zuckerberg out there telling everyone that AI is making his company incredibly efficient. And to be fair, their main business, selling ads, is an absolute rocket ship. I mean, they're delivering way more ads and people are paying more for them. So the part of the company that actually makes the money, it's doing great. But here's where it gets weird. Zuckerberg says one person with AI can now do the work of a whole team. Okay, sounds great. So why have their research and development costs literally exploded by over 40% in just 1 year? It just doesn't add up. The analyst says this feels a lot like what happened with the metaverse, just throwing massive amounts of money at a problem. It looks like a pattern, right? A super profitable ad business is bankrolling these huge risky bets on new tech, and the talk about efficiency doesn't really match the checks being written. All right, let's switch gears to Tesla, because if Meta's spending looks a little contradictory, this analyst believes Tesla is making the biggest, riskiest pivot of them all. They're basically trading a business that works for a future that's, well, a total question mark. I mean, just look at the scale of this shift. They're hitting the brakes on developing new cars and instead going all in on things like humanoid robots and building your own gigantic chip factory, the so-called Terafactory. By the end of the year, Tesla is expected to have around $20 billion in cash. Now, that sounds like a ton of money, right? But the question is it anywhere near enough for what they want to do? Well, get this. A similar kind of chip factory built by the industry leader TSMC right here in the US cost a whopping $65 billion. That leaves a pretty giant hole in Tesla's piggy bank. So how do you fill a $45 billion hole? According to their earnings call, the plan is to use future profits from a fleet of robotaxis. You know, a fleet that isn't running yet, using technology that's still being developed. It's a massive gamble. And that's why the analyst calls it Elon roulette. It's a huge, high-stakes spin of the wheel, betting the entire company on these moonshot projects that might not pay off for years, if they ever pay off at all. Okay, and finally, we've got Microsoft. The analyst kind of thinks they're the least lost of the three, but that doesn't mean they aren't facing some really serious problems because of how much AI costs. So here's the core of the problem. Yeah, their revenue is growing, and that's fantastic, but the cost of getting that revenue is growing even faster. And that's a huge issue because it means their actual profit margins are shrinking. So what's causing it? Well, it's mostly these massive inference costs. You can just think of that as the electricity bill for running their AI. Every single time someone uses Copilot to get an answer, it costs Microsoft real money. And on top of that, they're in an absolute arms race with competitors, which means they have to keep spending more and more just to keep up. And if you want to see just how much they're spending, look at this. They've got almost $19 billion worth of equipment, probably a mountain of NVIDIA chips, just sitting on the books. That means they've already bought it, but maybe haven't even paid for it or installed it yet. That's the staggering scale of this investment. Okay, so you've got these three giants all spending money like crazy. What in the world does this mean if you're an investor? Let's break down how the analyst sees the risk and the reward for each one. Using a metric called the PEG ratio, and all you need to know is that a lower number is usually better, Meta actually looks like the best deal here. The analyst thinks it has a ton of potential to go up. Now, Microsoft has some potential too, but it's held back by those shrinking profits we just talked about. Meta has this incredible safety net. Their ad business makes so much money, it's like an ultimate bailout tool. It can keep funding these big AI dreams for a long, long time. And that leaves us with Tesla, According to this analyst, it's by far the riskiest of the bunch. The company's stock price seems to be based on the idea that all these wild future bets will succeed, not on its actual car business. And that creates a whole lot of potential downside. So it all brings us to this one final massive question. Are we watching a bunch of geniuses play a brilliant long game? Or is this just a multi-trillion-dollar case of corporate FOMO, the fear of missing out, where everyone is spending billions just because they're terrified of being left behind? That's the real question at the heart of this entire AI gamble.